Hello aspirants, welcome to the Hi-Fi of the Day, Daily Current Affairs by Alchemy IAS Institute. I am Suhas and we are going to discuss the 5 most news topic of the day which is relevant for your UPSC preparation. This year, the food inflation is comparatively lower. What was the reason for this low food inflation? The reasons are the strong monsoon in the last 2 years that contributed to the yield or production of agricultural crops. And an ample government cereal stock was there, and government procurement was very high in 2025. That also provided food supply in the market that arrested the food inflation to an extent. And a strategic import of pulses and edible oils, it was nearly zero or very low import duty on cereals and pulses. So that also contributed to the lessening of prices, or arresting the price of import, and contributed to low food inflation. And the crop diversification, for a the change from this less profitable crop to maize for ethanol blending and all, that crop diversification uh, like uh, managed like crop diversification contributed to the price arresting or as like lessening the food inflation. So what are the risks that could upset the trends? That fertilizer shortage about urea and DPA that from China, that availability of the fertilizers, that is a growing concern. And consistently that monsoon was high, but we cannot predict about the future. So what about that monsoon uncertainty happen in future? So that is a challenge for this trend. But what are biostimulants? Biostimulants are components or particles or a microorganism that help in plant growth and plant development, but which is not a fertilizers. So they are substances or microorganisms applied to plants or seed for soil that physiological process stimulate improve nutrient uptake of plants growth and yield, and enhance stress tolerance, crop quality, and nutrient efficiency of the plants. So they do not include the pesticides or plant growth regulators, and are often made from plant waste or seaweed extractors. So what is an important? These things are not included in the group of fertilizers. So what does the Food Corporation of India FCO regulations involved in this about this biostimulants? The manufacturers must now apply for registration with the detailed composition of a bioefficiency data, and conduct a toxicity and ecotoxicity test on testing animals like a rat, rabbit, and all. Ensure the pesticide contamination is less than 0.01 ppm parts per million, and it's passed a bioefficiency trial 3 different doses across 3 different locations. That Central Biostimulus Committee was formed in April 2021 to guide policy and technical decisions. So the current government concern about forced sale of these biostimulants with the fertilizers like biostimulants, along with the subsidized fertilizers like urea and DAP. Then efficiency issues, like farmers complained many biostimulants does not work efficiently. That's why government is intended to bring regulations on this biostimulants. And the provisional loopholes, like many companies were selling products under extended provisional registration without full approval from the government. That is a concern. The Gujarat state is attempting to collect the genome sequencing or genome out of the genome sequencing project. The Gujarat government is collecting 20 tribal groups DNA across the 17 districts of the state. It is a first state level initiative. So it's cover 1 crore people. 15% of the Gujarat population is from a tribal population, and be implemented over next 5 years by the Gujarat Biotechnology Research Centers. So what is the objective of the project? It's intended for capturing the genetic diversity which that tribal population is not adequately represented in genetic diversity project, and to improve healthcare. We can formulate the healthcare policies by considering the genetic data of a tribal population, and it aid in public policy formulation, and we can predict the disease, or else we can predict the vaccine and needed, and it support research and innovation about the traits. The president's reference about the timeline for assent bill. The Supreme Court passed a judgment that the president must give his assent within 3 months after the receival of a bill, which is not which is not mentioned, or like which is not part of the constitutional provision. So the President of India asked the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court held that the governor and the president act within reasonable time on bills passed by the state assemblies. What was the reason? Once the governor reserved the bill to the president also must give the assent within 3 months. And this ruling came in response to Tamil Nadu government R.N. Ravi without withholding the assent of 10 state bills. Tamil Nadu state bills sparking the federalism debate. The Tamil Nadu state government approached the Supreme Court, and Supreme Court gave this judgment. So what is a issue? What is a presidential reference under Article 143 of the Constitution, which is a advisory jurisdiction of Supreme Court? So under Article 143 clause 1 says that the president may ask the Supreme Court for an opinion on a question of law, in fact of a public importance. And asking the opinion to the president or asking the opinion to the Supreme Court, it is that advisory jurisdiction that it is mandatory that the Supreme Court should give the advice, but whatever the advice rendered by the Supreme Court, it will not be binding on the President of India. And this is a part of a Supreme Court advisory jurisdiction, and the opinion is not binding, unlike the regular court judgment. So that it is not like a regular judgment or a degree. 143 is just like an advice. It is not binding on the president, and it must be held by 5 judge benches, constitutional benches, under Article 145 clause 3 of the Constitution. In a recent case, the Supreme Court said that the evidence collected by that genome evidence, DNA evidence collected by the prosecution cannot be taken instead admissible in the court because of many reasons, that the postmortem done in open, and the chain of custody of this evidence is not clear, and the chance of tampering is there. So Supreme Court issued some guidelines for this DNA evidence collection. It should be collected by a trained personnel. Whatever that blood sample DNA should be collected by a trained personnel, and it secure transportation and storage, like it should be stored in sealed container with FIR number and other details of the case, and it should be transported within 48 hours of the collection, and not tampering without the court permission. At least that session court permission should be there for tampering the evidences, and maintain a chain of custody. Whoever taking that evidence in custody, that chain of custody, that records of custody should be maintained by the prosecution. Finally, current affairs drill question of the day. With reference to Article 143 of the Constitution, consider the following statement. It allows the President of India to seek the opinion for the opinion of the Supreme Court on any questions of law or fact of public importance. The Supreme Court is bound to answer every reference made by the President under Article 143. The opinion given by the Supreme Court under Article 143 is binding on all courts in India, and a reference under Article 143 must be heard by a constitutional bench of at least 5 judge benches. The options are given here. You can comment your right answer, and remember Article 143. In recent cases, what happened, like even if the court passes a judgment, the court gives an opinion under Article 143, that will not be like a judgment, and that previous judgment which passed on April 8th, that judgment cannot be revoked. So if the central government want to, or the president want to revoke those judgment, they have to go for a